Whoa, check it out, Mark.
Oh, what?
And extra coins, you have the original X-Men beat-em-up game.
Oh, one made by Konami?
Yeah, the original Konami one. And the best thing of all is that Wickle Darko's going to be over there, participating in that Halloween contest.
Who's Wicked Darko?
You know, Hellgirl.
Come on, guys, not dressed like that all the time. Show a normal picture over, please. Thank you. Well, guys, again, for today's episode, we're going to talk about the original Konami beat-em-up arcade classic X-Men. Insert coin.
So, check it out.
Alright, so first we got the X-Men Arcade. It's a classic game made by Konami, and it's a 2-player or 4-player or even a 6-player beat-em-up arcade. Some of the arcades are so big, the 6-player ones had 2 TV screens, you can see what's going on. Right now this is the 4-player version. It's a classic beat-em-up style like the Ninja Turtles and other Konami style games, where you go around and beat up enemies, and you gotta choose from 6 different X-Men characters and try to save the world from Magneto and his army of Sentinels. The game lets you choose from Cyclops, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Storm, Dazzler, and Colossus. They each have their own attacks, throws, and mutant powers, which are super attacks that clear the screen of enemies in one hit, but they also drain your life. When you run out of the mutant power orbs, you can't use them anymore until you find more orbs or until you die and continue again. You have 7 stages to go through. The first stage is the city where you face a bunch of Sentinels, which is kind of weird because Sentinels are supposed to hunt mutants down, but in this game they work for Magneto, so I guess Magneto must have reprogrammed them or something. The first boss is Pyro, the guy that controls fire, and a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The second stage is the factory, where even more Sentinels are being made. If you couldn't get enough of them, you face the Blob as the boss, another member of the Evil Brotherhood. Nothing moves the Blob! The third stage is the jungle, where you fight against killer plants, a robot wasp, and the lizard men. The boss for this stage is the Wendigo, a dangerous cannibal monster that only says his name. The fourth stage is the cave, where you face even more enemies and weird ground creatures. The boss for this stage is Master Mode, a more powerful, more advanced version of the Sentinels that I guess Magneto also reprogrammed to work for him. If you beat him, you rescue Kitty Pryde, but you find out that the professor is now missing. The fifth stage is outside a cave, where you have this huge gap that makes fighting harder because you die if you fall over the side. You fight the White Queen as a mid-boss. You know, back in the old days, when she used to be a bad guy working for the Hellfire Club, and before that diamond skin mutation stuff. And then, the real boss is the Juggernaut, bitch! And he wasn't bad enough already, he has a bazooka in this game. The sixth stage is a trap that Mystique, disguised as Xavier, sends you to. You have to avoid another huge hole, as well as fighting 3 living Egyptian statues as the bosses. The final stage is Magneto's base, where you basically run the gauntlet. First you fight a bunch of Pyro clones, then you fight the Blob, Wendigo, the White Queen, the Juggernaut, bitch, and Master Mode. And if you scroll the screen too fast, you fight 2 bosses at once, so be careful. The boss is Magneto fighting without his powers, who was again Mystique in disguise, that annoying bitch. After you rescue Xavier, now you fight the real Magneto, Master of Magnet. The X-Men are more than welcome to die if they don't survive this final battle. This game is awesome and a lot of fun, and like other beat-em-ups, you can also find extra power-ups to fill up your life bar or more mutant power orbs. Alright guys, next on our list is the original Simpsons arcade, also by Konami. And you remember we kind of saw this one a while ago when we were reviewing Insert Coin itself as an arcade with and more. And it is a 4-player beat 'em up game where you take the Simpsons family, you know, Bart, Homer, Marge, and Lisa to rescue Maggie Simpson that was kidnapped by Mr. Smithers and Mr. Burns. As you can see here, Rick Darko and Johnny are kicking ass as Homer and Bart.
Everybody has their own standard attacks, and they can even team up to do double attacks, like Homer and Marge doing a giant double cartwheel all over the screen. One thing that the X-Men and Ninja Turtle arcades did not have were weapons to pick up and throw at the enemies. This game has a lot of them. You can pick up tires, bowling balls, you can use slingshots, you can even pick up the Simpsons pets to throw around. In fact, there's a part where all 4 characters gotta team up to pick up a car to throw around. And that's what I really call intense family teamwork. This game also has 8 wild, wacky stages to run through. The first stage is downtown Springfield packed with enemies, and the first boss is this weird, crazy drunk boxer. The second stage is Krusty Land, where you fight fake Krusties, guys in giant teacups, and the Life and Hell rabbits. The boss for this stage is this giant Krusty balloon. You have a bonus round where you have to fill up the Krusty balloons you could go after Maggie. You fight the living dead in stage 3, which is the Springfield Discount Cemetery. Stage 4 is Moe's Tavern, where you face another weird drunk fighter as the boss. Stage 5 is the Springfield Park as you fight an angry bear as the boss. Stage 6 is pretty interesting because the characters fall off a cliff and get knocked out and sent to Dreamland. So this level has a whole bunch of weird things based on the Simpsons personalities and dreams, like killer donuts and flying saxophones. The boss is a giant bowling ball monster thing based on Homer's hobbies. The next stage, when they go back to the real world, is Channel 6, which makes you fight through a ninja movie set where you face a kabuki fighter as the boss. The final stage is the Springfield Nuclear Power Plant, where you face Smithers as the mid-boss, and then Mr. Burns in a robot suit as the final boss. Defeat them to save Maggie.
Well guys, you can't get more hardcore than seeing Mystique and Beast checking out the X-Men arcade. I guess they feel kind of bad that they weren't actually in the game, but there you go. I guess you can say Mystique and Beast are playing X-Men First Class, huh?
Okay guys, so now here's our thoughts on the game. Well, first of all, X-Men is a pretty cool game. I like it a lot. It's pretty action-packed. I like all the characters. I like the fact it's an actual 6-player game because, I mean, you haven't really had many 6-player beat-em-ups like that, especially the big one with the 2 TV screens to see what's going on. I mean, yeah. And one of the things that maybe people didn't know, maybe you kind of forgot, but this game was actually supposed to be made to a cartoon that was supposed to be a big series. It was a series that was called X-Men, and the first episode was, I think, Pride of the X-Men, because it was about Kitty Pryde joining them and everything. And most people remember it because Wolverine had a very crappy Australian accent. It was hard to understand what he was saying. So all the characters were kind of like designed and stuff just like from that particular episode. And unfortunately the cartoon really didn't make it past the first episode until years later to make the 90s version. That's what really hit. But it's kind of interesting that, you know, that game was based on that episode. All the characters, the stages, the you know, basic thing. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, and the music is awesome. Who could forget the music? You know, everyone likes the X-Men and all that stuff. People kind of rocking their heads, so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, my thoughts on the game is that's another one of the, you know, those beat-em-ups you had back there in the days, you know, Konami. And it's pretty action-packed. It's simple. It's just, you know, being enemies up and, you know, try to beat up the last level boss, which is like, you know, the monster save the world and all that stuff. So it's really simplistic in that sense. But the game is pretty good. It's pretty action-packed. The music's pretty, you know, action-packed too. It's pretty good. I mean, you could forget some of those tunes like how, you know, the girl said. So it's a good game overall.
And of course, who could forget Dazzler and her tight blue pants? It's kind of weird though, because I looked around lots of pictures of Dazzler in her weird disco clothing. I don't remember if she actually ever wore that exact outfit from the game though. Maybe it was just based on the cartoon, but well, anyways. Now the Simpsons game is kind of cool. I like that it's kind of wacky, it's fun, you can pick up themes, lots of cameos. The only thing that's kind of weird is, well, the game was made in 1991. So it was like during maybe like the second or so season of the show, so I think it was still pretty new, so it's kind of weird because, you know, like the bosses are just like weird bears and crazy drunks and weird stuff like that, and like it's like if the game was made a bit more a couple of years later, you would have had more characters like Sideshow Bob would have been a boss, you know, maybe Frank Grimes would have been a boss, or like that weird boxer, so that crazy, you know, drunk boxer, they would have put Tatum as the boxer boss, you know, like they would have used more
characters, but it was still very early into the Simpsons run, so I guess they didn't really have much to work with. But hey, it was still fun. It was still crazy. It's still, you know. And of course, wow, Marge has to be strong, because do you know how fucking heavy a vacuum cleaner is, and yet Marge can just pick that shit up and swing it around? And, I mean,
oh yeah,
okay.
It's pretty funny. Well, my thoughts on The Simpsons is that, again, it's another one of those beat-em-ups they had in the time, but it's really wacky because they have the Simpsons characters. I mean, you don't picture them beating people up, you know, and then having Smithers to do a sinister plan of actually kidnapping Maggie and stuff. Yeah, that's crazy. And of course, the game, the people you beat up, I mean, there's like old guys walking, and like they just have a whole bunch of crazy characters in the game, and those little, and that rabbit character, what's the name of that rabbit? That
well, they're like based on the Life and Hell rabbits. It's like the first comic strip or whatever that Bank Rooney made before he made The Simpsons.
Yeah, so they have a whole bunch of crazy characters, and of course have the dream world right there in heaven, and they have all the big donuts, and it's just it's a wacky game. It's a wacky game. I think whoever made the game got stoned up before he actually threw that Simpsons game or whatever. But overall, the game is pretty action-packed. It's fast-paced, and hey, it's a lot of fun. I never get tired of playing that game.
Yeah, I think actually though, I still prefer the X-Men though, because it's still, I just love the X-Men. I just love the characters, the action and everything. Simpsons is kind of fun. I mean, I like the Simpsons too, but I don't know, I just like the X-Men a lot more. I mean, if I was to rate all the Konami beat-em-ups of the day, I would always rate like the Ninja Turtle games first, X-Men next, and then Simpsons third place. But I still like the X-Men a bit more. Another bad thing, of course, is do all the copyrights or whatever the hell. I mean, they never had X-Men anywhere, but, well, recently we did find out that they finally do have a downloadable version of the X-Men Arcade for the I don't know if it's either Xbox Live or PlayStation Network or both, but the bad news is The Simpsons is still stuck out there. So please, guys, the people that love that game, please bring The Simpsons back. Yes. Bring that game, because they've had a lot of crappy-ass games throughout the years for Nintendo and their systems, so this is one of probably the best Simpsons games ever, because you can't go wrong with beat 'em up. So just bring The Simpsons over, guys.
Yeah, it's the only Simpsons game I actually like.
Yeah.
All the other ones are that good.
Yeah, I know. So anyways, guys, that's it for today's episode. I'm Mark Rodriguez.
Johnny Rodriguez.
We hope you had a happy Halloween.
And see you next time.